Hello, I am Cthulhu, and I'm going to be running a game called Ducky's Delivery Service today. This is a fantastic indie game from a solo dev, CT Matthews. It is a fun, cute little game. You play as a duck, delivering presents to all of your ducky neighbors. The category that I'm going to be running is called the Flyer Marathon, and what it is every single level in a row. The goal of it is to simply deliver a single flyer to every mailbox in each level, and it's a pretty short category, under 10 minutes long. I'm going to load in here and just briefly explain the mechanics of the game so you understand what's going on. So you play this cute little duck, and most important of all, there is a quack button. So you can quack at ducks, and in fact, if you quack at a neighbor duck, they will quack back, which is perhaps my favorite part of the game. But the way the game works, you have a single accelerate button, which causes the little propeller hat on the duck to go, and it makes you go up, but also can make you go left or right. And that depends on the direction that you're facing. To slow down, you don't really have any options as far as slowing down your upward ascent, but you can slow down your fall by accelerating a little bit, and you can slow down the direction you're facing by accelerating the opposite direction. But it's important to remember that anytime you press accelerate, you're going to be going up. It's a very momentum-based game. It is a little bit tricky to get the hang of, but it's a lot of fun once you do. All right, so those are the basics. I am going to get started here with the actual run, and I'll be, of course, explaining more as I go on, but time will start once I go into the level here. So we're going to get started in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so now you know how the mechanics work. The goal of this category, as I explained, is to deliver a flyer into every single mailbox. What we're doing right now is basically just telling everyone that lives in this town about our delivery service. We're letting them know that we are available to provide all of their courier needs. We, of course, are flying. We are flying between these houses, and we're doing that with the help of our propeller hat because our arms are clearly occupied. We're holding all of the flyers in our hands. When we deliver these flyers, we actually have to throw them out. So we're throwing them at the mailboxes, and the way the flyers work follows the same sort of momentum principles as the rest of the game, and in particular as we do. So what we need to do is to make sure that we are following the path of where we want the flyer to go when we release a flyer. You can think of it more as letting go of a flyer rather than throwing it exactly. It is very tricky to get the hang of the movement and especially of the throws, and you can see it can be a little bit hard. But one thing to keep in mind is that the flyers can actually bounce off of walls, and we're going to use that a few times here to make sure that the flyers can get to where we're going much faster than we can. Unfortunately, if we bounce off a wall, or attempt to, we will actually basically bonk instead, and it causes a 3-second in-game time penalty. So I'm trying to avoid all obstacles as I go through these levels. There are 4 different areas of the game. We are in the first of them right now, and now we are in the second. The Flyer Marathon just glues together all 16 total levels in a row, so we're going to be hopping between areas rather quickly. The area that we're in now is called Chia Shores. It is a lovely little beach town area. Probably one of the nicer places for the lovely residents to live, the resident ducks that we will be delivering to. There are several other areas, though, and we'll see them as we go through. There are 4 levels in each area, for a total of 16 levels, and we're going to see all of them here because this goes through every single level. One trick that I'm using occasionally is I'm going to be accelerating upward into the ceiling, and the ceiling actually does not incur that 3-second penalty that I mentioned before for running into objects or running into a wall. This is really helpful because the fastest movement is while you're accelerating. So you really want to be accelerating as frequently as you can. Unfortunately, as I mentioned at the start, accelerating means you go upward as well. We can't always afford to go super far upward, so instead we sometimes intentionally will hit ourselves into the wall, or not into the wall, but into the ceiling, so that we can get a little bit of that boost without paying the price of going too high. The movement in this game is honestly really difficult. It is one of the more difficult speed games because of how precise some of these throws need to be, but also the general mechanics of the throws are a little bit hard to deal with. But once you get the hang of it, it is a lot of fun to zoom around with your little propeller hat. And of course you can quack, which in my opinion is the most important part. So we're wrapping up the Chia Shores here. This is one of the 4 major areas, and it had mostly birds as our obstacles. You may have seen me narrowly avoiding running into them. We move now into Pepper Cave, which is the penultimate area and a little bit more dangerous than the Chia Shores. You might wonder why a bird would buy a house inside of a cave with all of these falling spikes, but the answer is clear. Housing prices are awful in 2024. All right, we're going through here. The main obstacle now is these falling spikes, but there's actually another obstacle that will be introduced very shortly in this level, or in this area rather, and that is our good friends, the ghosts. These ghosts are actually adorable. I kind of love them. There are 2 kinds of ghosts. We have the regular ghost that you're seeing there, and there's some red ghosts that we'll be meeting in the next level. The ghosts here just like to stick in a group and hang out together in one big circle. You can see there's a gap in the circle, and that gap is there for us to fly through. But of course, there's also gaps between the ghosts, and we're in a hurry, so we tend to take those instead. With these spikes, they are proximity-based, so when you get near them, they start to fall. So the real trick is just making sure that you are not too close to any of the spikes, that you're not going to cross early enough. You want to make sure that you're either zooming under them or that you are far away from them. These are the red ghosts. They actually have a pretty basic movement pattern, but to the untrained eye, it may look like they're moving rather randomly. What they're doing is just running in a straight line within their bounding boxes. So these boxes you can see in the background. They are the empty space, really. And that's what these red ghosts are working with. Once I understood that, it became a little bit easier to not run into them. However, I still run into them absolutely all the time. Like I said, avoiding obstacles in this game can be extremely difficult. Luckily, even for the highest ranks on these flyer levels and on the flyer marathon, the expectation is that you'll run into a few things along the way. So you are able to achieve those even without absolutely flawless play, which is sort of a necessity given how difficult this game can be. All right, we've entered our final area. This is the Ash Volcano. There are 4 more levels in this area, and this area is perhaps the most hazardous yet. Moving up from spikes, we now have drops of lava coming from the ceiling, and you can see that right next to these houses. Once again, it must be very cheap to live here. These ducks have it rough. There's not only drops of lava coming from the ceiling, but pools of lava just below them. And when we wanted an indoor pool, this wasn't exactly what we were hoping for. But these are actually a little bit more predictable than the ghost patterns of the previous level. So I find this area to be a little bit more calm, despite how heated things can get. Ash Volcano is the final of the levels. We will be clearing up just the last two of the little villages here. This has some very difficult cycles to it, though. So the way that these drops work, they are on a timer, of course. So there's a consistent cycle that you can try to hit, but the fastest cycles, as you might imagine, are also the hardest. So we need to be careful to work with cycles that are consistent for a full-length run like this, and also fast enough that we can get our clears. All right, this is the final level, and things start to get a little bit dicey. We have the most narrow of passages. We have these drops of lava in some of their worst cycles, and we have the last group of houses that we need to deliver to. This game is extremely adorable, and I feel so bad for all of the ducks that live in these poor little villages. But that is time. All right, so very quick run. It is not long at all. It's under 10 minutes long. There's a slight difference between the IGT and the real time because of the penalty for hitting any objects, but still under 10 minutes either way. It is a lot of fun. I think this game is fantastic. I think it is a steal for the $10 base price that it is available for. And I think it's a great work from a solo dev. So would love to showcase it. I think it's absolutely great, and I think more people should try out this fun little game. It is extremely cute.